They're building a temple in that place we get our data from. That was so chilling for me to hear you say that. I'm particularly thinking about an episode where you looked at predicting a future event, a fire in a stadium. You showed that very convincingly that you had enough data in the beginning to say when it was going to occur and where it was going to occur, and that blew me away. I mean, that you had a way of deciding on numbers, the date and the time, and that you also had a way of looking at location, the kind of analysis that enables specific things to be said about an event in the future. We really think about what we can do to help people avoid something or, make good of something. That's what we need. Yeah.
Yeah, we do think one of the things that David and I have set as one of the goals for Magic in the Noise is to really push remote viewing beyond what's currently acceptable or currently expected for what we can do with it. And so one of the things we set for ourselves was how to do a near future event prediction that would be highly accurate in terms of the general area location, the date or date range, narrow date range, or the specific day, and then enough unique details. And so we did it. So we have two videos about this. One, we did predict the stadium fire. We gave the date that it would occur, the location, and details about it that were unique, that really helped to make that match to that event. And then we also predicted UFO sightings. And David has done quite a number of these where he's predicting the exact date and the area that a UFO will be sighted. And we use the National Reporting Center website for published UFO sightings. And so we did one where we had the date, we had the location, we had unique details of the UFO. Saw these uniquely bizarre square windows on a UFO, which seemed really wrong as I was writing it down, but it was the data that was coming through. And then we saw a few days after the predicted date, there was a report that went up about this UFO sighting that happened on the day we had predicted in the area we had predicted and described. And it matched the details of the craft that I had drawn. And so we got in touch with the website administrator who put us in touch with one of the witnesses. And so we were able to actually talk to the witness and get direct feedback. And it was fantastic because we saw what he had seen. And so it was just really exciting to be able to get such a specific outcome. David, am I missing anything on that?
Yeah, no, no, you aren't. Yeah, it's really important to us I believe it's possible to get the exact day and even the hour or minute of a future event along with specific details. And, I feel like the community in general, although they've proven this is possible, which is a wonderful thing, like I appreciate the contribution of the community. What I find is that they haven't refined it to a point that we're trying to drive it to, because that's where you actually get a actionable kind of result out of it. I'm an engineer and I'm always thinking about actionable kind of results, things that you can leverage, right? If it's entertaining or interesting or proof of concept, that's sort of cool. But like the stuff that's really going to help the general public is something that's usable. And the only way that you can do that is through more specific details. And in terms of AI, I'll throw a little tidbit here in terms of I'll link analysis into AI. Something I've not seen the community do, anybody in the community, now I could be wrong because I don't see everything, but I haven't seen it. If you want to use AI for remote viewing and you want a result that's interesting, I'm not talking about making it remote view. I'm talking about it enhancing your ability for analysis of remote viewing results. So when we think of AI, it is looking for patterns. You have to have somebody who's smart enough or their mind works in a way that's unique enough that they can actually look at remote viewing, like a slew of it, and basically start to identify pattern sets within it that maybe other people aren't seeing. This is analysis. Once they've identified that, that now can be put into a computer and trained to actually get a very powerful kind of result. So when I say that, that's a more useful way to use AI with remote viewing. Combine it with analysis, you're going to get really powerful results, right? So yeah, that's my input on that.
Wow. There's so much there we could get into, but this particular area is to do with, I say it's to do with the matrix. You might put it a different way. I'm speaking about this video about Freemasons and manifestations, the idea that they are building, in Sasha's words, they are building a temple in that place we get our data from. That was so chilling for me to hear you say that. Can you talk about that for a moment, Sasha?
I think that there are a lot of groups that are working in consciousness in ways that most remote viewers don't even know about. And it's remote influencing, it's remote viewing, it's constructing things in consciousness to either give you power to bend reality a little bit, to take energy and move it maybe from a crowd at a concert to your attention that you're wanting to bring about in reality. And so, yeah, so that kind of came through in one of my sessions where I saw the temple, I saw how it works, I saw what they were building, I saw how they were using it, not just in our current era, but in the ancient past. So I could see how it had the iterations of that knowledge that gets passed and corrupted, and some of it gets lost to the point where now I don't think the vast majority of Freemasons, I don't think they understand the meaning of the building of Solomon's temple. I don't think they understand where they're building it, why they're building it, or even how it works, because a lot of that knowledge has been lost. But as remote viewers, I think we have not just access to the data stream to help us make sense of it, but we have these experiences that help us understand, remote influencing experiences as well. So I think that that's something that people should maybe just be thinking about. David, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess for me, the way I might kind of think about it is, in a certain kind of way, is that, you know, consciousness, you have levels of it, right? You have sort of what I would describe as sort of a pure, you want to call it God, you want to call it source intelligence. Yeah, you can put whatever names you want to, but it's like it encapsulates everything. It's everything, right? But if we go down to more of a human kind of perspective, if we think about legends and myths and gods and all sorts of stuff like that, something that has great importance to a portion of humanity over some period of time, you can think about this as kind of like a construct within consciousness where all this energy and sort of thought is being poured into and culminated in terms of like a data set, right? Now, that's unintentional. Like they're not necessarily trying to do that. It's just a part of the process of their own collective kind of putting so much energy into this and kind of like packing that information into this little spot, right? But if you had the desire, you could start to construct your own consciousness construct, and you could start to populate it with your own data in a way that's more like you're leveraging a process that already exists because you've seen it. You're like, aha, I see something that exists. Can I take advantage of it? Right. So I don't see it as necessarily like it doesn't necessarily influence the broader collective, the universal God level. It doesn't really impact that. But at a lower level, it can have different kinds of effects essentially. And if you're not aware of it as a person, it's possible that it can have some effect on you, essentially.
And you can use it to make things easier. So I was talking earlier about how with remote influencing versus remote viewing numbers, where with lotto numbers, I've now entrained reality so that rather than remote viewing the lotto numbers, I nudge the computer, the algorithm. And so the auto pick numbers are going to win the free play. And that free play creates an auto-generated set of numbers. Those are going to win a free play. And it cascades and it goes on and on and on, 3 to 6 weeks of cascading, which defies probability. And so it's not that I'm choosing the numbers that are winning the free play. That means usually 3 or 4 out of the 7 correct. It I'm bending the reality that the machine, the random number generating aspect of that machine is incorporating. So I'm just pushing on the chaos and pushing in a little bit of order. And so you can do that in more complex ways. And like David is saying, you can build your own data set in there. And these are things that aren't really talked about in remote viewing circles, because I think, unfortunately, most remote viewing, at least in the public sphere, is still so low level that we're still talking about, oh, I got a diagonal and the feedback picture has a diagonal, yay. Or, oh, I said that the color red was going to be in the target feedback, and it is. Like that, the conversation is stuck at that level. And so it feels like the only time we can have these higher level conversations are in private, in little groups, or like, between David and I, we talk about these things, but there doesn't seem to be a place to share it in bigger groups, because I think there's just a lack of what's needed, I think, to maintain that, to sustain that. And I think that's one of the challenges that we're finding with building Magic in the Noise is, trying to find support in the community instead of competition, trying to find interest in some of the things that challenge the status quo. And when we're saying, maybe we're dissatisfied with something in the community or with the level that something is at, it's not a criticism of the people in the community. It's just saying we think that remote viewing can advance further, faster, and we're excited about that. And we want to talk with other people who are excited about that. We saw your work and we saw your conversation with Norbert about tasking and queuing. And we saw that you have really interesting insights in that. And so that was exciting to see. I think that's the value of having a YouTube channel, but YouTube channels are a lot of work and it takes a lot of energy. And so it's not something everyone can necessarily jump up and do. And when you do it, it's hard. Yeah. So I don't know where I'm going with that. David, jump in to rescue me.
No, that was, I thought that was quite good. I think
Yeah.
you just, that's, yeah.
It's really what you said, I think. Well, here, I'll say it. It's what I'll say. There is, I observe, and through necessity, a fair amount of fortress building going on. It's the nature of the game, I suppose. We don't have all that much time. Everybody has limited time in their day, and remote viewing takes time. It takes time to learn, and it takes time to keep your skills up. It takes time to learn new skills. It takes a lot of time to do a session, a lot of energy. So you're going to get groups who really protect what they've got, I suppose, because they feel the need to make a living out of this or make something out of this, and that requires them to put a value on their particular, the thing they bring to it. So they're different, so they're unique, and they can give you this, and then we can justifiably charge you for this. I think that's probably behind it. I mean, we all need to do that. Everyone needs to do that. We all should do that in this kind of world. But I mean, also there's a need to share, and I think that's what you guys are saying. How do we do this? So ideally, how do we make a living out of doing something we love and feel a great need for, and interact with other people?
People who've never had psychic abilities or experiences, if remote viewing is sort of their first venture into it, they probably feel a little more protective of those experiences, like it's because it's so intimate, right? It can be. And so I'm saying, like, some of that I think is a little bit of a contributor in some cases. The other the other thing that Sasha and I have talked about is the idea that again, I'm just a normal person. I'm an engineer, I'm analytical, but I also have had all these psychic spiritual experiences because of decades of work on myself. So I'm kind of like able to bridge a bunch of stuff, but I'm also kind of, I'm not gonna say naive, but I always want to see the best in people. I want a win-win. I want you to succeed because that means I succeed. That's just the way I think. But the community at large, if you think about it, who globally, just in the public kind of thinking. Like, who is attracted to psychic ability? Well, I mean, like Christians and religions, not all, of course, but to me, if we go back to like real old Christianity, it's more like, hey, psychic stuff's bad. You can't do that kind of thing. I'm just saying like hundreds of years ago, right? So that kind of mindset is, I'm saying to a certain degree, might limit the people who want to even go pursue this, right? Because I would just think that everybody who jumps into the sector is sort of just a normal person, right? What I'm trying to say is that, well, sure, I'm sure that's true to an extent, but the people who are really interested in these types of things typically are more occultists, or they're more like in this other kind of realm of operation, right? They're really, really interested in this kind of thing, right? So I'm saying, like, when I came into it, just kind of naive, not really thinking about anything, like, oh, everybody's just sort of the same, normal, this kind of thing. And it's not that occultists are abnormal. I'm not trying to judge any particular group, but I'm just saying the more I sort of looked at the lay of the land, I was like, oh, it's kind of drawing in a certain, probably a higher volume of people from a certain segment, right? So there, I'm just saying, like, the mindset is maybe a little different. The mindset might be less kind of like, let's work together, and more, you know, about me, kind of a thinking. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just an opinion.
It's the
I think as well, having more people share their work, seeing more portfolios, because I think if you're not seeing people's work, then you're just taking it on faith that they are as good as they say they are or think they are. Just today, we saw something about, a scammer in the community who was misrepresenting his ability, his training, and all the rest. And he was trying to teach remote viewing for money. He did actually put courses on, charge people to teach them. And it turns out that he was lying about his own training. And so, one of the things we're doing is we are putting our videos out there. We're putting our work out there. We want to encourage other people to do the same. You need to have a portfolio. I need to be able to see your work so that I can tell where you're at, what kind of viewing you do. And then if I'm looking for a team member for a special project, then I can go and find you. First of all, I have to have a way of finding you. And then I can see your work. Not just, oh, I'm a thought leader in the community. That's fantastic. But can I please see your portfolio so I can see actually how you remote view? That's one of the things with the full spectrum illumination, which is the new remote viewing system that I've developed. I've based it on the research and experiments that David and I have done together. We're basing it on science, right? We're looking at perception, we're looking at psychology, we're looking at technology, we're looking at all these different things that impact us as remote viewers, and how we process information, how we interpret it, and how we analyze it. And from that, we've both developed approaches to remote viewing that are individualistic, but I've been able to turn something into a protocol I can teach people, and it's unlocking their psychic abilities. We often hear, remote viewing is just about your ability. It doesn't matter what protocol you use. And we're finding that's not correct. It does matter what protocol you're using. It matters how you approach it. And one of the things Dave and I were talking about earlier today, in a lot of the training out there, they tell you the steps to take, right? Feel the color, feel is it diagonal, is it vertical lines, all of these things, but they rarely tell you how to make that signal contact. And so through our discussions, our research, working together, kind of just examining our own abilities. When I do analysis for David, or if he does analysis on my work, we're not just limited to our own work, but we're looking at each other's. And so we can see the differences and the similarities. And so that's helped us figure out how to be better remote viewers, how to push that boundary forward, how to get new information that's useful, how to get those precise dates for an upcoming event. And so then turning that into a system that works, I think, that's keeping me excited. That's keeping us moving forward. And I think if we can bring everybody's kind of skill level up, if people can start talking about this and moving away from the more basic, I think, intuitive guessing or swiping at target contact, if we can start moving more people to a higher level, then we can start doing more exciting group projects. That's one of the reasons we do monthly live streams, is we're trying to show people look, this is the level of work that's in the community. And I think that we've seen a lot of benefits from that. David, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, Sasha's been driving the live streams, which I think are amazing. And again, it's our more of our mindset of wanting to help the community contribute. Everybody wins, kind of like everybody, like we all work together, right? That's just the way we are. I can't help it. That's the way I am. I'm more altruistic, but uh, it's a way, it's an opportunity for any remote viewer to get some coverage publicly, because one of the things that's interesting to me but also strange is how often there'll be groups within certain authority figures, like whoever they happen to be. I'm not going to name names because it's kind of irrelevant, but it's like they'll do their own internalized kind of live stream, weekly targets, feedback, that kind of thing, which is wonderful, right? But nobody gets exposed. Nobody sees it. Nobody sees their work over time. And so this is an opportunity publicly for anybody to contribute. And if they can hit the target, essentially is all they need to do. Sasha will include their work, and then they get some exposure publicly. So, because this one of the things about the community seems to has Glenn Wheaton, and I like Glenn. He has said things like, there's being castles, like so and so has a castle, and this other person has a castle, so on and so forth, right? Which then there's a truth to that. But if we look at just the people who aren't in the castles, aren't in a particular camp, remote viewers, right? They don't really have a place where they can easily expose themselves, like Sasha says, and because you've done it, creating YouTube videos is not necessarily easy. So it's one of the things that Sasha's doing that I think is great.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have got great videos on your channel. This protocol you're talking about, this is through your channel on YouTube. There's a link there to go. Is it through the website?
Yeah, there in our videos in the description box, we usually put a link to it, but they can also go to our website, magicinthenoise.com, and click on the training and learn more. At the moment, I'm only teaching the mentorship one-on-one, and it's about a 3-month course. And it's advanced, but I personalize it. So I take you to the next level to unlock your skills at that next level. And then in about 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to be putting out our online pre-recorded introduction to full spectrum illumination, which is my RV system. And I also have full spectrum analysis. In the last few months on the live stream, I haven't had time to do much of that, but you can see it, especially in the first year of the live streams, where I'm applying my full spectrum analysis. And you can see the power of doing group work and having that analysis come into it. And so, I won't be training the full spectrum analysis over the next several months. Like, I don't see it coming that soon, but the full spectrum illumination RV system, the mentorship is already available, and the intro course online, that'll be, I guess it's already mid-March, so probably May. Yeah, late May, early June.
Sounds really impressive, and something I'd probably like to do as well, actually. Yeah, there's just so much more we could talk about, but there's no time. So it's been really great, you guys coming on. Very much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. This was a really fun conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be.
Very much appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
And so we were able to actually talk to the witness and get direct feedback. And it was fantastic because we saw what he had seen. And it was fantastic because we saw what he had seen.